I led the R&D department and developed a brand new maternal and infant app for the company. It gained a lot of support as soon as it was released and broke all previous registration records for the company's apps. That morning, as usual, I came to the multimedia room to give a presentation. While playing the PowerPoint presentation, I saw a very familiar avatar among the carefully selected high-quality customers. I thought it was just a coincidence. But when I opened the information, I found that it was my wife, with whom I had agreed to be childless for 5 years. Her updates showed that she had a pair of 3-year-old twins. I stared blankly at Emily Green's photos of the children in her moments. They were a pair of twins, and the caption said they had just turned 3 years old. No matter what troubles I encountered, I would forget them all as long as I could see them. The background was Emily Green's parents' villa, and the old couple was playing with the children. The presentation was forced to stop, and Emily Green's assistant took the lead in questioning, "Mr. Peng, please pay attention to your emotions." I met Emily Green, who is now my wife, during college. From acquaintance to love, and then from love to marriage. We ran this long race for 8 years and successfully survived the 7-year itch. As for the company I am currently in, it belongs to Emily Green's family. I, naturally, became the Yin family's son-in-law. I have endured controversy and all kinds of rumors, but I have never complained. For Emily Green's sake, I threw myself into Green Group. I applied all of my life's work to this company, which was originally worth several billion. Then I helped it advance all the way and successfully squeezed into the ranks of the $10 billion giants. I love her, and I know she loves me deeply. But I never dreamed that Emily Green would have a registered account in the app that I developed myself. And she so blatantly showed off her 2 children to everyone, as if she regarded me, her husband, as heir. As for the appearance of the twins, it almost made me lose control of my emotions. The boy looked so much like Emily Green as if they were carved out of the same mold. From the facial features to the expression to the curved eyes when smiling. On the other hand, the girl's facial features made me suspect her newly hired assistant, David Brown. I knew that the 2 of them were childhood sweethearts. It was when he went to junior high school that David Brown went overseas to study at his family's request. He had never returned since then, but Emily Green mentioned him in my ear from time to time. The last time was half a month ago. She told me that David Brown was preparing to return to the United States and wanted to give him a stable job. It couldn't be too good, but it couldn't be too bad either. In the end, the position of general manager's assistant was decided. I didn't think much about it at first, but now I finally realized that Emily Green had been going on a business trip every 6 months for the past 3 years. The lie about going on a business trip was thus exposed. After the presentation, I prepared to pack my things and leave. I saw Emily Green and her parents coming together, saying that they were going to hold a celebration dinner for me tonight. They also said they were going to give me a surprise, the unexpected kind. I replied with a wry smile, "Is it a surprise or a fright?" Emily Green immediately frowned and asked me, "Jack Thompson, what's with your attitude? My parents came here specifically to congratulate you." They said they came specifically to congratulate me, but when have they ever really accepted me? Every time I go back, they look at me as if I were trash. This time was no exception, but they looked at David Brown with more affection than they looked at me. I took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled. I asked Emily Green bluntly, "I want to know what's going on with the children." "You already know?" Emily Green replied. The panic I had imagined didn't appear, but she looked very calm. It was as if we were talking about a very insignificant topic. "Dave, because I love you, I don't want to deceive you. Those 2 children are David Brown's and mine, but the situation is a bit complicated. I know you won't mind these things for my sake, right?" I looked at Emily Green, who took everything for granted, and could only laugh at myself in my heart. The wife who first proposed that we be childless after falling in love had 2 3-year-old children behind my back. When I found out, she could say such high-sounding words. And the children's father was standing in front of me, and she had even placed him in the company one step ahead of me? I couldn't see any love for me in all of this. All I could see was selfishness and fear. Yes, so many years had passed. Maybe she still had feelings for me, but they had long since turned into the affection of family members who accompanied each other. As for the love we had in the beginning, it was all gone. How do you know that I definitely won't mind this kind of thing? I asked. My voice was very cold, so cold that even I was surprised. Usually, I was very obedient to Emily Green. As long as she didn't make any mistakes in principle, I could turn a blind eye and pretend I didn't see it. This time was different. Not only did she cheat on me, but she also betrayed me. Emily Green still replied self-righteously, "Dave, we are an old married couple, and we have experienced so many hardships together before we finally saw the light, so our love has long surpassed everything, hasn't it?" What a surpassed everything! I admit that I love her more than I love myself. For Emily Green's sake, I could even die. But that doesn't mean that I can be looked down upon, played with, and betrayed without limits. Emily Green's parents were also trying to persuade me, but they were aloof throughout the whole process. As if, in their eyes, I was fortunate to become their son-in-law. I don't deny that the Yun family has a lot of fame locally. But without my efforts over the years, how could the Yin family be on par with the $10 billion giants? If it weren't for me, the company would have been in a financial crisis 3 years ago. But they never thought that this was my contribution. Dave, aren't they just 2 children? We'll take care of them from now on, so what do you have to worry about? Emily Green's father finished speaking, and Emily Green's mother continued, "Besides, how old are you? It's good to have children around to take care of you in your old age." Is it to take care of me in my old age or to take care of him in his old age? I turned to look at David Brown, who was not far away. I could see a triumphant smile on his face. It was as if he was secretly announcing to me that he had won the final victory in this silent battle. The funny thing was that I didn't know the truth until the children were 3 years old. I even seriously suspected that all of this was arranged in advance by them. They just wanted to use this method to prepare me mentally. Emily Green frowned slightly and questioned me, "Jack Thompson, you're going too far. Is there anything wrong with what my parents said?" "No, your decisions are all right. What does it have to do with me?" I shook my head, feeling that I had lived too miserably these past few years. My former passion had long been smoothed out, and I had become an insignificant speck of dust. I had dedicated myself wholeheartedly to Yun Corporation without a word of complaint. Now, I only felt suffocated and very aggrieved. Emily Green suddenly roared at me without rhyme or reason, "Dave, you're forcing me to divorce you." Over the years, Emily Green had rarely lost her temper with me. But now, she wanted to divorce me for another man and a pair of children who didn't belong to me. I laughed, but the smile looked a little dull. "Oh, late. Since you want a divorce, then let's get divorced." I said the most heartbreaking words with the most indifferent attitude. In the 8 years of acquaintance, love, and marriage, I had never thought of separating from the woman in front of me for even a day. I often felt that we were a match made in heaven. Nothing, no one could break us apart. But I didn't expect that in the end, I still couldn't defeat her first love. When I made the decision, Emily Green exploded instantly. She questioned me loudly in front of everyone, "Jack Thompson, do you have to be so willful? Have you ever considered my feelings? Your feelings are feelings, then what about my feelings?" I retorted. I didn't know when I had become so humble. In this family, it was difficult to seek any care. Apart from work, it seemed that everything else I did was wrong, and I had to face criticism from their entire family. If it weren't for Emily Green, I might have collapsed long ago. Now, even she was unwilling to stand by my side, so what was the point of this marriage? Has my Yin family starved you or frozen you? Emily Green's father suddenly said angrily, when we allowed you to become a son-in-law of our Yin family, you should have been grateful. Do you think you're something special? Just as I was about to speak, David Brown persuaded from the side, Uncle Yun, the doctor said you can't get angry, be careful of your health. David Brown knows how to care for me, unlike some youngsters who are ungrateful. Seeing Emily Green's father praising David Brown with admiration, I felt disheartened. For 8 years, I had been trying to find ways to give them gifts during the holidays. The gifts may not have been the most expensive, but they were the most thoughtful. I was always thinking of them, and I handled all the parties and banquets. Including when they were hospitalized and sick, I often pushed aside my work to take care of them. Even so, I still couldn't get their sincerity in return. On the other hand, David Brown, who hadn't been seen for 10 years, suddenly came back for just over half a month and caught their eye. Could there be anything more tragic than this? Even Emily Green couldn't help but complain to me, look at David Brown, and then look at you, where has your usual cultivation gone? You're talking to me about cultivation at this time? I looked at Emily Green in disbelief and suddenly realized that she seemed to have changed. She had become very strange and unfamiliar. The tenderness that she used to have for me had also disappeared without a trace. She had begun to subtly defend David Brown. Perhaps she didn't know it, but how powerless it was in my eyes. Not to mention reconciling, I might not even have the right to try and salvage things. Emily Green also realized something. She changed her attitude slightly and comforted me. Dave, I was a little impulsive just now, but there's a reason why I did that. Promise me, come back to my parents' house and let me slowly explain it to you, okay? And I bet you'll like them very much too. I knew that the them that Emily Green was talking about referred to the twins that I saw in the photos. I couldn't understand it even more. When did her values become so explosive? She wasn't like this before. Could it be that everything in front of me for the past 8 years was all an act? I tried my best to stabilize my emotions and agreed to her request, but I chose to drive alone on the way. Only in this way could I calm down enough. When I arrived at the cottage, I saw Emily Green's 2 children running out. The boy clung to Emily Green while the girl went to cling to David Brown. They each held one in their arms, looking so warm and happy. It was as if they were the couple, while I had become the villain who was destroying their relationship. But I was Emily Green's legal husband. I stayed in the car for a long time while Emily Green stayed with the children. She had probably forgotten LL about coming back to explain. Mommy and Daddy, you'll always be together, right? The little girl blinked her eyes and asked Emily Green coquettishly. Emily Green smiled without hesitation. Of course, Mommy and Daddy will always be with you until you grow up. Really? But I heard there's a bad uncle outside who wants to steal you away. When the little girl said bad uncle, my heart felt as if it had been clenched tightly. Emily Green immediately scolded softly, don't say such things in the future. There's no such thing as a bad uncle. Then will Mommy live with Daddy? I only want Mommy and Daddy, Grandma and Grandpa, and my little brother. Facing her daughter's pleading, Emily Green was silent for a few seconds. I thought she was worried about me, but unexpectedly, she replied with a smile, yes, we'll live together as a family of 6 in the future. Even if it was a lie, this sentence was enough to shatter my last hope. I looked at the happy family of 6 outside the car. I suddenly had the illusion that I had become the most superfluous one. I didn't leave, just wanting to know the reason. So I got out of the car and was about to go over when I noticed the hostile looks in the 2 children's eyes as they looked at me. The little boy even pointed at me and cursed, it's him, the bad uncle. Daddy has to protect Mommy. Don't let the bad uncle get close to her. The younger sister also shouted, quickly let the bad uncle leave here. I don't want to see him. The siblings' reaction was beyond Emily Green's expectations. She quickly explained, you have to remember, he's not a bad uncle. He will become your father in the future. He's not my father. I don't want him to be my father. The little boy roared. The little girl suddenly started crying, looking extremely wronged with tears in her eyes. This scene softened Emily Green's heart, and she quickly coaxed, Lily, be good. He's not Daddy. He's a bad uncle. Let's chase him away together. Really? Lily's ears stopped abruptly. Really? Emily Green nodded in reply. Her eyes were filled with doting on the children, as well as endless tolerance. I was stunned on the spot, thinking that I was hallucinating. As the legal husband, I was going to be kicked out of the house by my wife because of the words of two children who weren't mine. Emily Green walked over with Lily in her arms and said to me with feigned anger, What are you doing standing here, you bad uncle? Get out of here, quickly! Emily Green's mother also scolded, That's right, get out of here quickly, don't dirty my house's floor. I didn't get the explanation I wanted, but instead, I was kicked out of the house. Even though I knew that Emily Green might just be trying to protect the children. But this had already shown how important the children were in her heart, and the little territory that was originally occupied by me. I was afraid that David Brown had already eaten it away. I nodded and smiled self-deprecatingly. Okay, I'll leave. I wish you happiness. When I turned around, I was hoping to see a ripple in Emily Green's eyes. Even if it was only for a moment, at least it would prove that she still cared about me. Unfortunately, there wasn't any. She ignored me completely. It wasn't until I drove away from the cottage that she finally put her daughter down and smiled. Lily, the bad uncle is gone. Yay, Mommy is so awesome, Lily said excitedly. David Brown came to her side and put his arm around Emily Green's shoulders to comfort her. Don't worry, Mr. Ping will understand you sooner or later. Emily Green was worried and was about to go out to explain to me when Lily grabbed her right hand. While pulling her backward, she said anxiously, Mommy, where are you going? You promised to play with me and my brother today. Emily Green was unable to resist. Emily Green had no choice but to give up the idea of chasing after me. As for me, at this moment, I had already driven away. Without any nostalgia. I felt that I was too stupid, not knowing that my wife had two 3-year-old children. Every time she went to her parents' house, she deliberately avoided me. There was also her relationship with David Brown and the sudden decision to recruit David Brown into the company half a month ago. I should have guessed all of this, but I had devoted myself wholeheartedly to the company. And then what? What was the point? In the end, we still parted ways. I didn't regret it, I just could never accept the fact that Emily Green betrayed me and that she kicked me out for the sake of the children. After leaving, I called my brother, who was far away overseas. I asked him to help me book a plane ticket to go there, as well as all the arrangements afterward. I was tired, and now I just wanted to go out and relax. My brother immediately said in surprise, Dave, have you figured it out? If you feel tired in the United States, it's not bad to change the environment occasionally. I knew that he had always wanted to pull me to work at their company, but I knew that going there would be the same as competing with the domestic financial industry. Emily Green could have no bottom line, but I couldn't. So I refused his invitation again. My brother sighed and complained, I'm telling you, why are you so rigid? Wouldn't it be better to live a happier life? You don't understand, I replied with a wry smile. By the way, have you heard of David Brown? He used to work on Wall Street, just like you. I know, a piece of trash. I heard he got into trouble before I resigned and left the United States. What's wrong? Do you have a grudge against him? Consider it as me owing you a favor. I want to investigate him. After hanging up the phone, I directly canceled the SIM card and all my contact information. I decided to officially say goodbye to the past. On the other hand, Emily Green didn't even think about calling and played with the children until dusk. It wasn't until the children were asleep and fell asleep that she finally thought of me. She made some time and called me. When she found that my phone was turned off, she complained softly, "This Jack Thompson is something. When did he become so petty?" She thought that I was still angry and throwing a tantrum, but she didn't know that my heart was dead. 8 years of love, goodbye. That night, Emily Green stayed at her parents' house, which was also what the 2 children wanted. They wanted their mommy and daddy to be able to spend more time with them. Emily Green hesitated, and then her mother advised, "What's wrong with going back late once? I don't believe Jack Thompson would dare to control you." "He would dare," her father said angrily. "Emily Green is our precious daughter. What else does he want to do? Rebel? Dad, it's not like what Mom said. Jack Thompson has always been very good to me these past few years." After speaking, she made a few more calls to me and found that my phone was still turned off. David Brown, on the other hand, took out a lab report, coughed a few times, and said, "Emily Green, this is the result I just got today." "Let me see." Emily Green took the report and immediately said anxiously, "Is your illness already this serious?" "It's okay. I should be able to hold on until the children's birthday." Looking at David Brown's pale face, Emily Green replied, "Don't worry, I will give you the shares I promised the children." For 3 days in a row, Emily Green didn't call me again. She intended to let me cool off for a few days so that I would completely get rid of my anger. However, she was a little angry that I didn't go to the company. If it were me in the past, I would not be absent from work due to quarrels or other factors. This wasn't about other issues but about a sense of responsibility. It was good that she could stay with the children all the time these 2 days. It wasn't until the 4th day, when she learned that there was a problem in the company that couldn't be solved without me, that she finally called me. When she found that she still couldn't get through, her face suddenly turned cold. She changed her clothes and decided to drive home. However, when she got home, she found that there was no one there, and many things were the same as they were 4 days ago. This proved that I had never come back. This made Emily Green even angrier, and she immediately arranged for people to look for me. She even went to the police and reported me missing. That night, Emily Green returned to her parents' house and felt that something was wrong the more she thought about it. She knew that I couldn't leave for so many days, and without any news at all. In the past, my phone would be turned on 24 hours a day, and I would reply in seconds, even when I was in a meeting. If I work very late, I always say something in advance. But this time was different from the past, so she gradually became flustered. She couldn't sleep all night, waiting for news. However, she didn't get any news from me. Instead, she got a friend request from a stranger on the Maternal and Infant app. After hesitating for a moment, she still chose to add them. Soon, multiple files popped up in the chat box, including contracts, albums, and videos. Emily Green suddenly sat up and stared at these files suspiciously, unsure whether to open them or not. She asked who the other party was but didn't get a response. As for the IP address, it showed that it was overseas. She finally opened the first contract, and the expression on her face changed slightly. This was the gambling agreement that David Brown had signed when he was working overseas. Of course, in the end, David Brown lost completely and owed a huge amount of $300 million in compensation. At first, Emily Green thought that someone must be deliberately playing a prank. It wasn't until she opened the album that she found that almost all of them were photos of David Brown when he was working overseas. The more she flipped through them, the darker her face became. until she saw David Brown going in and out of bars and hotels with various women. Her whole face had become extremely ugly. Finally, there were also 2 phone recordings, which completely revealed the conspiracy that David Brown had been planning over the years. The meeting at the overseas dinner 3 years ago and the so-called serious illness. All of this was fake, and it was all deliberately done to win her sympathy. And that night's drunkenness was also planned by David Brown in advance. He had planned everything carefully and even booked the hotel in advance. The ultimate goal was only one: to swindle all of Yin Corporation's assets to pay off his debts. Emily Green's body was trembling uncontrollably. She stared at the last obscene videos on her phone screen, and her face gradually turned pale. She was unwilling to admit it and wanted to tell herself that all of this was fake. It was a pity that the evidence in her phone couldn't be faked at all. Just then, someone called Emily Green. They told her that I had bought a plane ticket to go overseas as early as 3 days ago and left on a plane. Without any warning and without even saying goodbye. I had chosen to leave so quietly. After hanging up the phone, Emily Green stared blankly ahead, feeling that her brain was in a mess. David Brown's deception and my departure had dealt a great blow to her. She couldn't accept it for a while, and her emotions collapsed in an instant. Emily Green couldn't accept this result and immediately got up and knocked on David Brown's door. It was now 1 a.m., and David Brown was already asleep with the 2 children. Awakened by the sudden knock on the door, he opened the door and asked, "Emily Green? What's wrong at this late hour?" Before he could finish speaking, Emily Green questioned him with a dark face, "How did you leave the United States?" Hearing this, David Brown felt a little guilty. It was this subtle express ion that Emily Green noticed, and she reminded him, "I want to hear the truth." "Emily Green, did someone deliberately say something about me in front of you?" Seeing that David Brown was unwilling to tell the truth directly, Emily Green's heart sank. She was unwilling to admit that she had been deceived. Moreover, she had been deceived for 3 years, and she had been completely played around during that time. She couldn't believe that she would hurt me for such a scumbag. "I'm giving you one last chance." Emily Green's increasingly pressing manner frightened the 2 children in the room. They got up, rubbed their eyes, and came closer, each holding one of her hands and asking, "Mommy, did someone make you unhappy?" Emily Green, who had always doted on her children, also changed her attitude. Even if she didn't want to vent her anger on them. But as long as she knew that they were tools used by David Brown in all of his plans, using them to gain her trust and love, she would feel disgusted. She said indifferently, "This is none of your business. Go to sleep." "No, no." The little boy shook Emily Green's hand and kept acting spoiled. "Mommy, don't be angry with Daddy anymore, okay?" Emily Green was annoyed by the shaking and forcefully shook her hand away. The little boy was so scared that he took 2 steps back and then started crying loudly. "Stop crying!" Emily Green was already annoyed, and now she was even more annoyed when she heard the crying and directly roared. Then she said coldly to David Brown, "If you don't want to say it, that's fine, but from now on, you're no longer a member of Yin Corporation." "Emily Green, what's wrong with you? Is it Jack Thompson? Did he say something to you? He's a villain." Knowing that he was going to be kicked out of the company, David Brown suddenly started to freak out. He knew that this plan had been going on for 3 years, and it was about to succeed, but it had fallen short at the last moment. He couldn't accept this. And his tone became more and more aggressive. Emily Green, who had been relatively stable in her emotions. Suddenly, I became extremely irritable when I heard David Brown say bad things about me. She roared with her eyes wide open, "What are you? You're not worthy of mentioning him at all, and you can never replace him." During this period of time, reminiscing in the bedroom, even she couldn't believe it. She had thrown away her 8-year relationship with me because of a David Brown who had suddenly appeared. She couldn't even imagine how sad and upset I must be after being abandoned. She immediately arranged for people to investigate my whereabouts. She wanted to expose all of David Brown's crimes and apologize to me in person. David Brown was unwilling and said with an awkward smile, "Emily Green, can you please stop making a fuss? Believe me, things are not what you think." "Is that so?" Emily Green turned her hand over and played the photos and a large number of videos on her phone. This made David Brown's face gradually turn livid, and he revealed his true colors. He directly snatched the phone and smashed it on the ground, and then stomped on it twice with all his might. After the screen shattered, he cursed, "Which bastard did this? Or did you deliberately investigate me?" "Heh, it seems that these are all true." Emily Green suddenly felt that she had lived her life as a joke. She had been completely deceived by the man in front of her, and even the man she loved the most had left her. She couldn't accept this and said resolutely, "Now, immediately, get out of my cottage. I don't want to see you again." David Brown, however, replied nonchalantly, "Do you want our children to not have a father? Are you threatening me?" Emily Green suppressed the anger in her heart and stared at David Brown intently. Her tone sounded very calm, but it was like the prelude to a storm that was about to sweep in. David Brown was not afraid at all, but instead smiled confidently. "They are your biological children. Are you willing to part with them?" Emily Green lowered her head and looked at her pitiful children. She felt annoyed, disgusted, and even a little sick. It felt more like a burden and a drag, breaking the 8-year relationship of deep love between me and her. She also knew that the children were innocent. But no matter how she comforted herself, she couldn't change her current thoughts. Emily Green's parents were awakened by the noise and rushed over to ask what was going on. Emily Green reminded them, "Mom and Dad, you came just in time. From now on, the two of them will be with you." "With us?" The two elders were still unaware of what was going on. It wasn't until Emily Green told them the truth that the two elders were furious. Especially Emily Green's father, who pointed at David Brown and questioned, "Are all of these things that Emily Green said true? You're so despicable." David Brown didn't expect Emily Green to be so decisive. But before he could say anything, the bodyguards rushed in and apprehended David Brown. The children cried their hearts out, begging them to let their father go. Unfortunately, they could no longer touch Emily Green's heart. From then on, they would have to live with their grandparents, and it would be difficult even to see their mother. Emily Green had already prepared herself to be forever hated by her children. After David Brown was taken away, the old couple was furious. They never thought they could have misjudged someone so badly. Emily Green, on the other hand, stared at them intently, her eyes full of resentment. He was the man they liked, and the children were the ones they wanted. Even the way they treated David Brown for the past 3 years was instigated by the old couple behind the scenes. "Don't you have anything to say?" Emily Green asked. Emily Green's father replied with a complex expression, "Your mother and I were also blinded by him. Fortunately, we discovered it in time and avoided a major disaster. So, as long as the incorporation is okay, it's not a major disaster, right? What about Jack Thompson? What exactly is he in your eyes?" "Jack Thompson, he?" Emily Green's mother said casually, "Why don't you just bring him back? We promise we won't say anything about him in the future." "Is that the point?" Emily Green was very anxious now because her friends hadn't found any information about Dave. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be difficult to find a residential address. "Then what else do you want?" Emily Green's father asked, his face darkening. "Do you have a conscience?" Emily Green's sudden question made Emily Green's father flush with anger. "What are you talking about? Do you not know whose hard work has made the incorporation progress so rapidly these years?" Emily Green's father, who wanted to retort, suddenly fell silent. On this point, it was indeed an undeniable fact. Without Dave, it would be as difficult as climbing to heaven for Yun Corporation to break through the $10 billion mark. Seeing her parents' silence, Emily Green said solemnly, "After I bring Jack Thompson back, I want you to apologize to him personally." Initially, Emily Green was confident that she could rely on her network to find Dave's whereabouts. When the time came, she could just lower her head and sweet-talk him into coming back. However, after a week passed and there was still no news of him, Emily Green began to feel uneasy. In the 8 years they'd been together, Dave had never disappeared for more than 2 weeks like this. There wasn't a single phone call or even a text message. It was as if he had completely vanished from the face of the earth. Only now did she finally realize that Dave was determined to leave this time. She anxiously made phone calls and sent more people to investigate. She even offered a reward of $1 million to find him. If $1 million wasn't enough, she would continue to increase it until it reached tens of millions, but still, there was no news of him. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye, and Emily Green looked several sizes smaller. She had lost her usual confidence and looked very listless. She rarely went to the Yun Corporation and preferred to stay at home every day, not going anywhere. She often drowned her sorrows in alcohol, reminiscing about their past in her dreams. When she opened her eyes again, she realized that all the good things were like bubbles, disappearing in an instant. The more she thought about it, the more regretful and frightened she became. She kept muttering, "Jack Thompson, please come back to me. I know I was wrong. I hurt you too deeply back then." Emily Green's parents also took the initiative to look for her several times, advising her not to be so listless and to cheer up. They also expressed their regret and vowed that if Dave was willing to come back, they would accept him as their son-in-law. Emily Green found it ridiculous and shouted at them, "What's the use of saying this now? Can it bring him back?" The old couple lowered their heads, speechless. The main reason was that they were well aware of what they had done to Dave in the past. That's how people are, they only know how to cherish something after they've lost it. When Dave was still with the Yun Corporation, the old couple thought that all his hard work and dedication were his dues. After he left, the Yun Corporation's performance declined sharply. Even if they regretted it, it was already too late. It wasn't until 2 years later that Emily Green finally received news about Dave. During this time, Yun Corporation had fallen out of the ranks of the $10 billion giants. While being reduced to its original state, there were also serious problems with the cash flow and other aspects. However, Emily Green didn't care about any of this and rushed to find Dave. She took a plane and rushed to his apartment. Overnight, she knocked on the door, waiting silently, filled with excitement and a little nervousness. On the way, she had thought of countless ways to meet him. She had also decided that as long as he was willing to go back, she would agree to any request. But when the door opened, standing in front of her was a stranger. "Who are you looking for?" a young man with a Chinese face asked. Emily Green asked softly, "Excuse me, is this Jack Thompson's home?" "It is his home," the young man replied. Emily Green immediately said in surprise, "Where is he? I want to see him." But then she saw the young man explain with a sad expression, "You're too late. He passed away 3 months ago." The news of his death was like a bolt from the blue to Emily Green. Her face turned pale, and she asked in disbelief, "You said he's dead?" "Impossible. You're lying to me, right?" "This is impossible." The young man spread his hands. "Why would I lie to you? I even have his death certificate here." When the young man took out Dave's death certificate from the room, Emily Green suddenly lost her balance and collapsed to the ground. Then, tears kept streaming down her face. She, who rarely cried, stumbled along the road and cried for 3 hours. She cried until she couldn't cry anymore and almost cried her eyes blind. But she didn't know that the death certificate was fake, and Dave was in the room the whole time. Since there was no more love, why bother meeting again? His current life was easy, comfortable, and very leisurely, basically like being retired. As for David Brown, who was in court, he finally received the punishment he deserved. In addition to going to jail, the court directly awarded custody of the 2 children to Emily Green. It was as if she had come back with nothing. However, Emily Green no longer had the doting she once had for the 2 children. Even if the children clamored to see their mother, Emily Green could harden her heart and refuse to see them. She also penned a bookstore alone, named Remembering Dave's Bookstore. This was also one of the wishes that Dave had jokingly made on his birthday. He hoped to open a bookstore in the future, where he could drink tea and read books in the store when he had nothing to do, enjoying the wonderful leisure time.